You know, sometimes it's really hard to tell what something is just by looking at it. Many things kind of look the same. For instance, there are many different white powders that look similar, but are definitely very different substances. You wouldn't want to grab the powdered sugar in a recipe that called for 3 cups of flour. Both are white powders. Does it really matter which one I use in my recipe? Yeah, it does. Some white powders are not edible, and I need to be sure not to grab one of those for my recipe. This week in lab, we will learn how to identify what a white powder is by using more than just what it looks like to identify it. So what kind of things do you think we can do to identify an unknown powder? Well, we can smell it, and we can feel it, and we might, in a very rare occasion, even taste it. Although we have to be very careful tasting an unknown powder. Some powders are poisonous, so that is not a way scientists tend to use unless they're certain the powder is safe. But is there other ways to determine what our mystery substance is? Well, yeah, there is. We can use some tests we've used in the past in labs we've done this year, and we can do some new tests too. For instance, we could ask the question, well, what happens if I put this powder in water? Will it react? Or how about if I put it in vinegar? Will it react? And if so, what might happen? Depending on the reaction that I get, I might be able to determine what that unknown is. I can also test my unknown to find out what pH it has. Knowing the pH can help me identify my substance as well. And it can also let me know how safe my unknown would be if I were to taste it. Remember the murder mystery that we did? I can test with Benedict's solution to find out if my unknown is a sugar, or I could use iodine to help me identify my unknown. As I was preparing for a lab, I began thinking about how identifying an unknown isn't easy. It takes a lot of knowledge, time, and patience. And you have to know what you're doing so that you perform your tests safely. Otherwise, you could hurt yourself or those around you. I then began thinking about the unknown substances in our hearts, spiritually speaking. You know, what are some of the substances that can make us unclean in our spirits? There are many sins that can plague us all, and it's important to be able to recognize the sin that is within our hearts so that we can come to our God for help to remove the sin and give us a clean heart. But did you know the Bible teaches that we do not have the knowledge to search our hearts alone? We need God's help to identify what's really inside our hearts. He alone can identify the unknown sins hiding inside. Jeremiah 17:9-10 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve." See, it's the Lord that does the work needed to search our heart and examine our mind. He's the great detective. And when he completes this thorough investigation, he will rightly reward each person according to what their deeds deserve. Wow! He knows our hearts even better than we do, and it takes a lot of knowledge, time, and patience from our God for him to do his detective work on our hearts. Remember when I said when you test unknown substances, you have to know what you're doing so that you perform your test safely? Otherwise, you could hurt yourself or those around you. Well, it's true of our own hearts and other people's hearts as well. The truth is, we humans lack the knowledge and the patience to rightly identify the unknown sins in our hearts and in the hearts of others. And frankly, we often don't really take the time to do it right either. Instead, we judge ourselves and others from the appearance only. We decide what's in their hearts based only on what we can see on the outside. But God doesn't do that. He judges by taking the time to patiently look much, much deeper. 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "But the Lord said to Samuel, 'Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him.'" The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. So the Lord, he goes much, much deeper. When we try to jump in and judge another person's heart, or even our own heart, without God's help, we run the risk of hurting others or ourselves. It's important that we come before our God humbly and ask him to search our hearts and see if there be any unknown substance or offensive way in me, and ask for his help to clean it out. Psalms 139:23-24 says it like this: "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my concerns. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." When we trust God to be the one to deal with our hearts, he promises to clean out the bad and leave his righteousness in its place. Only then can we even begin to attempt to approach another person's heart with the intentions of helping them deal with identifying their unknown offensive ways. Before we even try to point out another person's sin, we better be praying for God's eyes to see what's really inside. If we don't have his perspective, then we will do damage rather than good. Just how well does God know your heart? Just how deep does he go to really know you inside and out? Well, Psalms 139 shows us just how well God knows you. Let's read it together. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You understand my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down. You are aware of all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, you know all about it, O Lord. You hem me in, behind and before. You've laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go to escape your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you're there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle by the farthest sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness is not dark to you, but the night shines like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you form my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and I know this very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All my days were written in your book and ordained for me before one of them came to be. Doesn't it sound wise to give the one who knows you this well permission to search you and know you, and permission to clean up any messes he finds within? The psalmist sure thought it was worth it. He even says God's thoughts about him are precious, and he finds security and love in this wisdom. Psalms 139:17-18 says, how precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is their sum. If I were to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand, and when I awake, I am still with you. The great detective created your heart, soul, body, and mind. He knit you together with intentionality. He has a purpose for you, and you are not an accident in any way. Even if someone told you that you were an accident, they do not know you as well as your Creator does. Come to Him and let Him search you and know you. He alone has the detective skills to remove that which is offensive and replace it with that which is eternally honorable, His righteousness.